Hey Braves fans, another game recap coming at you from Bach Dirty to Me. Tonight's game was Phillies and Braves Game 2, Nick Pivetta versus Mike Foltynewicz. Two very good pitchers who've been pitching awesome here lately. Two youngsters going at it here, so let's hop right into it. Top of the first inning, Ender started things out like usual, grounds out. Next up is Ozzie Albies. He struck out and for some reason didn't bother to run to first base, and Chip and Joe were all over his butt. So much that they made multiple comments about it. He just kind of started walking back towards the dugout. But next up is Freddie Freeman, and he skies out to the shortstop. So pretty quick top of the first inning for us. Bottom of the first, leadoff for the Phillies was Hernandez. He struck out swinging on a nasty curve from Folty, which right away set the pace for how he pitched for the rest of the night. Second up was Carlos Santana. He flied out to Acuna on the very first pitch. And then third up was Stank Leg Herrera, and he hit soft into left field for a single. Following him up in the cleanup position was Hoskins, who ended up flying out to Ender and ended the inning right there. So moving on to top of the second inning, Markakis leads off and absolutely crushes a home run. It was only about 8 rows deep, but it had to have been about 500 feet high. After Markakis, Acuna comes up and he ends up popping out into foul territory on the very first pitch. I've noticed he kind of likes to attack early in the counts. I think he feels that his odds of getting a fastball are higher. Since he's come up, he's really just ambushed the first pitch. I've noticed that's kind of his thing. After Acuna was Dansby. He ended up striking out, chasing one pretty low and away on what looked to be a curveball or possibly even a nasty changeup. So 2 outs there, and then finally Flowers came up and struck out looking. On to the bottom of the second, Nick Williams at bat grounds out to second base. Michael Franco comes up to bat after him with a hard line out to Acuna. To end the inning, J.P. Crawford grounds out to second as well. So pretty uneventful bottom of the second there, but Braves take the lead 1-0 on Markakis' home run there in the second inning. Top of the third brings up Flaherty. First guy up hits an infield hit. J.P. Crawford there at shortstop almost made the most insane play ever. Threw it while he was facing the outfield. Had he put a little more on it and a little more accurate, he may have been number 1 on top 10 this evening. After him was Folty, and he ends up laying down a sac bunt and beat out the throw. It looked like Carlos Santana got the ball there at first and looked over to second to see if he could turn a double play, and Folty ends up beating out the throw over to first base, so that's always great when the pitcher can get on. Up after him was Ender, who came up big with a base hit, and Flaherty scores. That made the score 2-0 at that point, and Folty went all the way from first to third, so good base running on his part. Next up was Ozzie, and he ropes one to the right field. Williams with a fantastic over-the-head catch. Folty tags and scores, makes the score 3-0. That's 17th RBI already for Ozzie. Freddie comes up after that, crushes one to center. Stank Leg Herrera makes one of the most unbelievable home run robbing catches that you're going to see this year. He caught the ball about 3 feet over the fence, and his glove and arm went into the bushes that Philadelphia has there out in center field. And not only did he bring the ball back with him, but he brought back 3 branches and 5 flowers with him as well. So bonus for him. After him, Markakis walks on 4 straight pitches, and then at this point, Bender ends up stealing second, and then he ends up stealing third, which originally he was called out, and after the review, he was very safe. So Ender out there making things happen again. I'm sure that wasn't a call from the dugout, but he took matters into his own hand, and I remember a time earlier he did the same thing, stole second, and then got thrown out at third base, but this time cards fell in his direction. So Acuna was up next. walks on a great at-bat, fouled a few off to get to that walk, so things worked out well there. And then to end the top of the third inning, Dansby grounded out into a fielder's choice. So on to the bottom of the third, Alfaro led things off by striking out swinging. Pivetta, the pitcher, gets up there. 3 straight pitches, strikes out looking. So things were looking up at that point. 2 up, 2 down on strikeouts, and then Hernandez gets up there and walks. And then the very next pitch, or what can't really call it a pitch, but Fulte ends up picking him off over at first base. Just a beautiful pickoff move. Hernandez was not ready for it, and Freddie, of course, is a master with laying down tags over there at first base. So on to the top of the fourth, Flowers up to bat first, ends up grounding out to third. Flaherty's up after that, ends up striking out swinging, and then Fulte, of course, strikes out swinging in the most hilarious fashion ever. That man is very uncomfortable with a bat in his hands. Bottom of the fourth inning, Santana leads things off. He ends up flying out to Acuna there in left field. Herrera is up behind him, ends up lining out to Acuna again. 2 plays in a row, Acuna sees some action. Hoskins follows Herrera there in the order, ends up walking, which was the second walk of the game. He's a tough guy to pitch to. After him, Nick Williams was up and struck out swinging, and that ended the fourth inning there. So on to the top of the fifth, Ender leads things off again, ends up grounding out to second base. Ozzie follows him and hits one oppo to left field just for a single. Then Freddie gets up there, and he wasn't going to get cheated this time or get robbed. Freddie hit one very, very hard all the way to the fence and ends up struggling out a triple. You don't see Freddie Freeman triples very often. Markakis follows his at-bat with a base on balls, and Acuna follows Markakis with ended up striking out swinging, and then Dansby gets up there and grounded out to the pitcher. So all that wasted with Freddie getting a triple. No one could push him across home plate there. But on to the bottom of the fifth, Franco ambushes the very first pitch for a home run to left field, a line drive shot. So at this point it's 4-1 Braves. Florimon ends up coming in bats for J.P. Crawford. They weren't sure at first, but reports came out that he had a sore elbow, I believe is what they said. Possibly shoulder, but I'm pretty sure it was elbow. Florimon gets up there, and he goes down looking on another nasty breaking ball. Alfaro follows him in the lineup and grounds out hard to Freddie, which ended up being a pretty close play at first, but 2 outs there. Kingery pinch hits for Pivetta at this point, and he dumped one into center field, and that was a great at-bat by Kingery. He was down 0-2, battled his way all the way back to a 3-2 count, and ended up kind of getting a little cheap hit there into short outfield. Hernandez comes up behind Kingery and lines out to Markakis, so that ended the 5th inning. On to the top of the 6th, Flower leads things off. He pops up behind second base, and in and out of the glove of Hernandez. He had it in his glove. It was a tough catch, kind of over his shoulder with his glove turned backwards, upside down, however you want to say it, and the ball literally bounced in and out of his glove, so Flowers got a little break there. And at this point, they had Ramos on the pitch. I didn't mention that, I'm sorry. Flaherty gets up there and grounds into a double play, damn it. And so that takes away Flowers' lucky hit. And Fulte ends the inning by grounding out to third base, which is a miracle that man can even put the ball on the bat. So on to the bottom of the 6th inning, Carlos Santana leads things off. He pops out to Markakis. Scary catch at this point with strong winds and rain. The weather really picked up there out of nowhere. Herrera comes up after Santana, strikes out swinging, and Hoskins is after Herrera. He swings at the first pitch and pops out to Freddie, who couldn't find the ball. It was a very high pop-up. Freddie had his hands out, asking for help, and at the very last possible second, Freddie ends up finding the ball and just kind of stabs his glove out there, and the ball ends up falling in his glove. So kind of a lucky play, lucky break, but that's baseball. On to the top of the 7th, Ender leads things off again and pops out to shallow left field. Ender kind of had a rough game. He was putting the ball on the bat on the ball, but really wasn't hitting anything really hard, which is surprising because Ender's been pretty hot lately. After that, Ozzie walks, and after Ozzie gets to first, Freddie, they make a pitching change and bring in an Atlanta native, Adam Morgan, to pitch against Freddie, and which worked to their advantage. Freddie ended up striking out swinging. After that, Markakis walks, so we have guys on first and second, and then for the third out, Acuna popped out to shallow center field. Bottom of the 7th inning, Nick Williams leads things off. He hits a high, short fly out to Acuna for the first out. Michael Franco comes up behind him, hits a hard base hit between third base and shortstop. Balls of the game, probably, at that point. After Franco, Florman came up again and hit a base hit to right, and Franco could only advance to second base, so the defense did a pretty good job of getting to the ball and getting it back into the infield. After Florimon, Alfaro comes out, ends up hitting into what I thought was going to be a double play. They got the force out of Florman at second base, and Alfaro, who does not look like he would be light on his feet, ends up beating out the throw to first base, and Franco advances over to third. So we have guys on first and third, and with 2 outs, and then after that, Altair pinch hits for the pitcher spot and grounds out up the middle with the force out at second base. So on to the 8th inning. Dansby leads off the inning, smokes a single up the middle. Flowers follows him up by popping out to shallow center. Flaherty with a high pop out to center. And then they brought in Preston Tucker to pinch hit. And this is what I always wanted to see. They had the shift on him, and he ends up just laying a bunt down third base. It was the easiest base hit he'll probably get all season. I don't know why teams don't do this more often, especially Freddie. If you look at the alignment when Freddie's up, the third baseman is almost to second base. There's nobody down the third base line. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's a pride thing or they just don't want to take the bat out of his hand sort of situation, but either way, topic for our real podcast here coming up tomorrow evening. And after Tucker bunted against the shift, Ender ended up flying out to center again. And then we move on to the bottom of the 8th inning. They bring Minter in and kind of had a shaky start. Ended up walking Hernandez and then walking Santana back to back. So we have 2 guys on, no outs. Herrera's up, the potential tying run, and ends up lining out to Acuna. And the runners couldn't advance. The ball was hit too hard. Then Hoskins followed Herrera with a looking strikeout, a backwards K, and then Nick Williams ended the inning with a strikeout. So on to the 9th and final inning. Ozzie leads things out by, he flew out, popped a ball into foul territory. They ended up getting to it. Freddie hits a long fly ball to center field, kind of a loud out, ends up being the second out of the inning. Markakis gets up there and takes the right field all the way to the wall, and Chip and Joe thought the ball was gone by their reaction. Of course, Chip thinks every ball is gone that's hit in the air, but this one was very close. The guy had his back basically up against the wall. I think with the windy conditions, Chip and Joe had mentioned that the wind was blowing straight into home base, so it looked like the wind probably knocked that one down a little bit. And on the bottom of the 9th, Vizcaino came on the bump. Haven't seen him for a little bit, not in too great of situations anyway. Franco led things off with a strikeout. Florimon came up and ended up working a walk, so we have 1 guy on, 1 out. Alfaro is the next one up, ends up striking out swinging, and then Andrew Knapp came pitched hit for the pitcher's spot and ends up striking out swinging. So Vizcaino ended up striking out the side, which is a very, very good sign compared to what he did in Colorado by walking, bases loaded, walked in the winning run. So that's his third save of the season. Pivetta had a decent game. He went 5 innings pitched, 4 runs, gave up a home run, 6 Ks, 3 walks, 6 hits. His pitch count just started getting up there, and he was laboring through some innings, had some high-stress pitches. And then Mike Fultonevich had a great game, 6 innings pitched, which is more than his typical 4 2/3. 3 hits, 1 earned, and 6 strikeouts. So all in all, it was a great game. Tune in tomorrow at 12:35 Central. Last game with the Phillies here. It is 3-0 McCarthy against 1-3 Velasquez. Braves really need the win to take the series and close another game gap here on the Phillies and hopefully work our way to the top of the NL East. Again, this is Styles with Bach Dirty to Me, and be on the lookout for our newest podcast coming out early this week. Thanks a lot, guys, and go Bravos.